I have excellent news. These specialty spokes arrived a whole month ahead of when they were supposed to. Apologies as the lighting changes. The sun is setting right that way. So I have brought up my travel toolkit and my home, I guess you could call it a bike shop. And we're gonna get the tire off. If you didn't see me disconnecting the electrical on this, I still don't know how to put up a card, so I'll try. But if not, it'll pop up at the end of the movie or end of the video to help you navigate to it. So, one tool that I recommend if you're going to be repairing bicycles is this set. Honestly, it's cheap, it's basic. It comes basically like this. It's the Bell multi-tool. So basic. But it does have 2 tire levers included. It's magnetic, so, it can stay together. It doesn't necessarily. I end up just packing it inside of the toolkit that comes with the bike, but really the toolkit that comes with the bike is just that and a book. To give myself hope on the road, I have this electric wire wrapped, real basic pliers, electrical tape, couple of Allens, crescent wrench, teeny tiny little wire snippers, and zip ties. I'm actually not sure why, but I seem to also have a measuring tape in here. I don't know what I'd need that for, but there it is. So, first thing we're going to use out of all of that are these little things. That is tire levers. What I'm doing is getting between the rim, I don't know how the lighting is, between the rim, everything's so dark in that frame, and the tire, and lifting this bead. They call it a bead. It is the steel bit that holds the tire in place. And you're going to go around a couple places on here, get this sucker in between again, and then use, so now I've got 2 of them like that. Let's lower the viewfinder just a little bit so you can see multiple things I'm doing. And then once it's in there, it'll be a little stiff. But there you go. Now you can just run it along, pull it, insert it in a second place. Continuing to get this sucker out is going to be a bit of a struggle. Getting a tire off isn't exactly the easiest thing. But we have to get the tire off because we're going to have to insert nipples into the places where they're gone, or fish them out of the tire chamber from where they've fallen in, because I think some of them just came unscrewed and fell in. So we have to get our way the whole way around and get this tire free. Lifting up here, and twisting it, getting the tool in there if I can, but now that it's even more tightened, it might be even more difficult. And this is why a lot of bicyclists recommend that you carry. There's a bug. I don't want you, hoverfly. Recommend that you carry Fix-A-Flat is because the process of getting the stinking tire off just to put a new inner tube in there is a whole big thing. Even with the proper tools. I have a third one too. It's my keychain. That is a bicycle multi-tool in the form of a keychain. It is made by Bison Designs. I got it at Dunham's, which is a sports outlet, like sports equipment store. We're going to end up yanking at this for quite a while, fighting with the darn thing, because I got a little bit free. Not much more than that. I thought I wouldn't need to have the inner tube pump out, but I think I actually do, so I'm going to pause you and go get it. Yeah, I think the pressure of the inner tube is increased based on that being lapped up over. Just there's more pressure on the outside of it. It's kind of hard to get it to release, though. Actually, just going to press on it with my fingernail. It is letting air out. That might give us a little more wiggle room. Or I might just have to do a prolonged battle with this sucker. There we go. That's what it needed. So I've got this looped up in here. And now you can see, just like a butter knife, I'm able to slide it along there. And at the end here, it's going to be free on one side. So that's now completely free of it. And we do need to get this up and over on this side. So you might be able to see that I jammed it between here, so we're coming off the same side. That is the quail crowing. Oops, that came out. Let's try it again. Just slide it along. Let's see if this can do it. Oh. It's trying to. I'm saying oh because it has actually decided to not let the valve out, and that's what was in my way. It's the inner tube valve. Pull that up in. It's stuck, see? There we go. Now it's free and clear. And again, I'm using it with the hooked end up. See how there's a curve to it? And I am catching a little bit on the rim itself there. We're free. It's stuck the whole way through. You can see the light through there. I'm going to tilt it, and again, run it around, and now it's fully off. So the next thing you see here is nipple protecting tape. Now let's just say that the nipple is the screw at the top of the spoke. This is actually just a rubberized, in this case. Sometimes it's all the way taped down. It just depends. But this is just loose. And so that can just be placed back on, noting that there's a hole where the valve goes through. So this spoke is broken, but you can see basically the anatomy of a spoke, just about. The trick here is going to be figuring out where every single one of them goes. I also need to get into this packaging. So we got a short side and a long side. And these were measured by a shop for me to make sure I was getting the right size, but the shop that I went to was not able to offer me the spokes themselves, because electric bicycle spokes are a specialized item in the small wheel variety. This is a 20-inch wheel, and the specs actually say it's 19 and a half, and that's just not common. Cut or tore. These are 10 gauge 130, and these are 12 gauge 132. Put these actually back in the bag so I don't jab my feet. I'm barefoot out here. Let's see, which side's the shorter side? There's another broken one. A good one has like a J at the end. One that isn't broken. I'd be willing to bet. Yeah, see, here's a couple of, this is going to be a problem. You see that bit of reflective there? That is a couple of spoke nipples that are just hanging out in there. They're in between the double wall of the tire itself, and they're falling out the bottom when I shake it. This is further evidence to me that the problem wasn't tension, it was loosening of spokes. So yet again, I want to remind people that the thing that I said in my last video, which is, I'm still just rotating it to see if more of these little spoke nipples will come out, which is that if you have a hub motor, a bike shop is going to likely tell you that this just happens and it's because they're cheap. They're not cheap. This is the original technology. But if you've been riding it for a while, you're probably going to be noticing you could have spokes break because they get loose. And that is just like a tension, rattling, and just more torque at the center than spokes are really designed for. So a lot of these spokes are perfectly good spokes that aren't broken. But I don't know if you can hear this, but it's rattling. This one's a little loose. That one's not too loose. This one's a little tiny bit loose. But yeah, that's not good. And then I've got some that what happens after that is they come unscrewed and then they catch on the frame of the bike and then they snap their neighbors off or they snap themselves off. And so you end up with just a whole bunch of unscrewed spoke nipples up inside your rim that detach themselves, and then you end up with a few that snap themselves off at the base, like this one, because this one flopped out, hit, and then ricocheted off the rest of them. Obviously, I'm a little on the covered in bike stuff end of things at this point, but this is why I'm here replacing spokes. This is why I've been landlocked for about a month. I took the risk of taking a bus during COVID-19, with my state being green way before it should be, and not a fan of that experience. I'm not going to recommend it, so I'm going to hope to avoid that in the future. So the advice that the shop that measured these for me gave me makes a lot of sense, and it's replace them one by one, keep track of where they go, rather than detach everything and then have to hang it. So I can actually keep a lot of these spokes in place and not worry too much about whether they're going to break, as long as I tighten them back down. Once we replace spokes and get everything tightened up, because everything is pretty loose here at this point, and it'd be at risk at doing it all over again right away if I didn't tighten everything down. Once we do that, we're going to place this in a homemade truing stand or the wheel frame itself. We'll see which one ends up being best, and true it up. Which means if you tighten down your spokes, usually they're set it and forget it, but in a hub motor bicycle, they're not set it and forget it. I found out the hard way. And I did the research for you. Please believe me on this. It's not worth risking your bicycle. Go check your spokes. But once you have everything tightened up, it can kind of warp just ever so slightly the wheel. If you ever experience hitting the brakes and the bicycle wheel is kind of like pulsing, the feeling is like you're hitting the brakes in a pulsing feeling, that often can mean that your wheel is out of true. That's the word that's used. A true wheel is very flush with itself. There's no twisting or bending to it. The other thing that you can experience if you don't have a true wheel is like shimmying, like a shimmying feeling while you're riding. That, of course, is also what I felt when the wheels, when the spokes started to bust. It was a ka-chink, ka-chink, ka-chink kind of feeling while I was moving along there, and it wasn't fun. So, I do see some damages from torque, from my neighbor's sneezing, if you hear that. We have close houses here. I do see some damages from torque and from the spoke nipples banging around in there. I'm hoping that these won't be structural damages and that everything will just be okay, but it's not great. There's an example of it, is that little like chink in there, the little crack in the metal is what I meant to say. And same there. And here. You get the idea. So it's not fully cracked, it's more just like a scrape and a dent combined, I suppose. And there's a few more, but you've seen enough of them, you get the idea. I'm hoping that is just cosmetic and not structural. If it's just cosmetic, that's no concern at all. We can just move along and not even worry about it. So that's how to get the wheel off, and that is the theory on spoke replacement. I'm gonna post up this video, and then this is my first time fully replacing spokes, so I'll have you along for the ride on that as well. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.